he would have been like, "Hey, look, y'all get it, man. Like, you have success. These things happen in life. This is an opportunity I can't pass." Like, they would have understood. I think there's a lot of aspect of honestly. We say we want to build young men or young adults and all this stuff, but we want to keep them away from honesty. Like the real.
Welcome to the Elev8 podcast. I'm your host and coach, Tyler Johnson. Thank you for tuning in. If you are a return listener, I'd be grateful for your rating or review. And if you dig this episode, give us a like or share. And now, whether you've tuned in to elevate your mindset, your game, or just your day, you are in the right place. We did have a few audio difficulties the first few minutes of this episode, but bear with us. It gets better. My guest is totally worth it. My guest this episode is the founder and creator of the Beyond the Field program. You can visit btfprogram.com, where you can find his blog and his book, Beyond the Field, as well. On Twitter, you can follow him at BTF_program. I'm excited to bring him to the show. His movement was birthed from a moment that he realized that there's just an absence in the impact outside of sports for student athletes. And from that, he's turned all his efforts into creating generational impact that helps student athletes find their purpose in life. Welcome to the Elev8 podcast, Edward Jones II. How are you doing?
Doing well.
Good. Glad to have you. I know you're fresh off sharing at the AFCA convention to some coaches. We're excited to have you on the podcast. Your organization, your company, you started Beyond the Field. What inspired you to get it going, and tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so player development professional for 6 years, and in my second year, I got an opportunity really to get in front of recruits and kind of talk about player. I have a marketing background as a designer. So for me, it was really how do I present this to them in a way that they can take away the fears.
Yeah.
Beyond the Field, or came up with Beyond the Field, and it's kind of been, that was how we did it there. But then as time went on, I had someone speak at our university, and they were like, "Yeah, man, you need to turn this into business," And so I kind of created Beyond the Field program LLC to help with player development. It's about student athlete impact, player development, education, athletic professional support, and just individual inspiration. So really, it's all out there. And it's basically, I built a company because when I first started in player development, there was no resources at all. That was like everything I'm doing now, I have to figure out or create something. So it's creating a company to help do it to the field. Those that are interested, those that are in it, those that just want to know more about it.
Along your journey and kind of that development, was there a coach that kind of inspired you or kind of motivated you to do some of the work?
Yeah, so I would say it'd be Tom Herman, who's the one I work for, and he kind of told me, I thought I wanted to coach. He's like, coach, you got to be the best director. He really allowed me to kind of sit there and grab my passion. He believed me, brought me to the program, allowed me to do stuff. Still, once again, he believed me, receptive to what was happening. So there's two coaches specifically, and really my high school coach too. I got to give him credit. I worked for. He's my head coach, Patrick McGinnis. He allowed me to do a lot. So I was prepared before I knew what.
And Tom Herman is a pretty intelligent guy, right?
Yeah, he's like a Mensa, man. Like I found out when I got there. There's like one time we had a guy who he's a military kid, and so he's a young man, but he was a military kid. And he coach. We're in a staff meeting, middle of a staff meeting. Coach was like, "Where were you?" He's like, "I'm in Germany." They spoke German to each other for like 2 minutes. It was the craziest thing I ever saw in my life. Like just German. I'm like, I didn't know he knew German. Like it's just like he knew it and he spoke it, and they just literally had a conversation in German, and we're all kind of around the staff room looking at each other like, what just happened? But yeah, he's very, very intelligent.
Gives you a good way to connect with player, right?
Yeah. It was really good. And he forced you to like, there was no, you couldn't say no. And so he forced you to like, it really helped me grow, honestly, and like finding ways like, no, we will find a way to get this done.
Talk about that for a second, maybe just, as it relates to development, and especially on the field, off the field, of just kind of being pushed to, just beyond that comfort.
Yeah, a big thing is like resources, right? So some people are able to bring in a whole bunch of speakers. Some people are able to get these programs, whatever. But at the end of the day, whatever, if we're going to help these guys with, let's say it's resume writing, we're going to get it done. Like
Yeah.
we got people in this building that have written, that have resumes. Coach, let me see your resume. Okay. Who did this for you? Okay. Did you do it? If you didn't do it, who did it for you? Awesome. Get me on the phone with the person that did it. I'm going to get them connected to the player. Just finding some way like I always tell that to people about player development. They're like, oh, we need this, we need that. It's like, no, you really you have everything you need. Now, are there benefits to speakers? Absolutely. Are there benefits to the programs? Absolutely. But I've always been like, look, we're gonna find a way. Hey, we can't, we were gonna do a visit. We're gonna have y'all visit our company, but we got this, we wanted to have y'all on site, but we can't bring you. All right, can you jump on Zoom? Yeah, we can jump on Zoom. Sweet. He's gonna learn the same thing.
Yep.
So that just kind of helped me. Like I just like, and even in building the program, I would just try stuff. Okay, that didn't work. Okay, how can we do this better? And just the evaluation and kind of creating it. Like it's just you create it. Like I want to help people, and whatever that is, I'm gonna do to help people. Like I'm not gonna let it stop me, or I'm not gonna get in the way of like, well, what if I tell too much? No, man. Like let's educate people because it's educating and impacting student athletes.
Definitely. I think there's a lot to be said for, I think any whether you're coaching off the field, player development, there's always a little trial and error, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially as we're humans, people evolve. And so, the way we teach and educate evolves. So what are some ways that, coaches or people listening, leaders, that you find they can connect with their teammates or players or student athletes, off the field?
I think number one is just getting to know people, right? Just communication, just constant communication. Like for me, I just say hello to people every day. Like that means something to people, right? Because I would have players come in like, man, my coach only talks to me when he needs something, and they're not saying I need a 25-minute conversation, but just say hello, like, or staff members, right? They don't know. You'll find staff members that don't know people who are in the building. It's like, how do you not know that person? Like, or it could be the custodial staff. Just hello, like. I think it comes back to connecting people, just the night, like just being nice, being a nice human being, like not letting your title or your position or your career or your accolades get in the way. And then once you get there, it's just intentional conversation. Like,
Yep.
hey, for instance, I was talking to one of my former players who uh, at Kansas, and he's going into just finished his first semester of law school. And I remember that he told me he played drums in his parents' church. I was like, are you still playing drums? Did you find a place to play drums out there? It's just remembering and just, it
Yeah.
means something to people. I think people they see conversation as like, okay, I read something last night about lead a small talk to people you don't know. Like, hey, it's really cold out there. Like that, like I should be doing that with maybe a cashier that I don't know. But people in the building, like I should be, we're around each other enough for me to have a genuine conversation. So I think it starts with conversation and communication, because what they say, communication is the foundation of all relationships or something like that. So
Yeah. I like that you said have a small conversation with someone you don't know.
yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I was just last time I was with some kids, was challenging some kids to, make someone they don't know smile. But that smile can start that conversation.
It's cool. Like I'll go to I'll go get groceries, and people's name tags are there, and it's just crazy. People look up when you call them by their name. Hey Sarah, has it been busy today? Oh my goodness, like you see me as Sarah and not just the cashier. Like,
Yeah.
or the guy changing your tire and said that, hey man, like how long you been here, man? What do you have a pet? Like you be shocked. People don't ask stuff. People just feel like they should be served, and it's tough.
Yeah, like calling when you can call someone by their name, even if you don't know the person. Like
That's
it's,
huge.
it's music to their ears.
Like I'm here at the public library. I've been coming in here a lot the last month or so.
Yeah.
And just trying to figure out their names. Like I know there's no guy Ryan. They see me every day. They know I want the middle room. Like,
They like it.
I found out the other lady, she's from Houston. We talked about, the Texans and Houston sports, and like,
Nice.
So,
Good. You flash that big smile. If you're on YouTube watching this, you already seen it. So, that's always a good thing.
I can't hide it, man. I can't. I try, like we would have like when I played football, my coach would be like, "All right, everybody meme," and they'd be like, "Man, Jones, Jones can't do it." And so I'd be
Good
like,
energy, man. It's good energy. What are some of the things, your recent experiences with student athletes? Um, what are some of those key things that you just see them struggling with, or like you talked about, in search of resources for, of those things, beyond the field, beyond the game?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing, I had a conversation with a young man who I was we know each other and we had a good relationship. And one day I was just challenging him about leadership, and he asked some interesting questions about leadership and what makes a leader. And he was talking about like bad leaders and good leaders, and like, well, people follow bad leaders, like, or he was kind of talking about, just, he had a history class, and he was talking about some questionable world leaders that I won't name.
Sure.
He was like, "Well, they're leaders." I was like, "Well, I don't know. It might have been more fear. People, like that's not necessarily leadership." And so we
Yeah.
continued talking. I was like, "Well, you're a leader." It's like, "No, I'm not. I don't get up and talk in front of the team." I said, "I don't want to hear that. You're a leader. People watch what you do. You do things a certain way. People like being around you when you're talking. Look how many people are just at this table." And he's like, I don't know. So I keep challenging him. And one day he's waiting for his position coach down the hall, and I had some time in my office. I had an extra seat. I was like, "Hey, man, come in here. You can sit in here while you're waiting." And we just kind of chopped it up, and I kind of asked about his day. And he's like, "You really think I'm a leader?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely, blah, blah, blah." And then he said something that kind of stuck to me. He's like, "You know what I like about you?" And I said, "What?" He was like, you're the same person every single day. Like, you
Mm.
don't change up. You don't blah, 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 blah. And I think they crave authenticity
Yeah.
because they want to be who they are, right? I think sports is fun. Sports is fun, but I think so much of their life they've been identified because at the level I'm at, these guys didn't just a lot of them have been good for a long time. So 5 years old, they if it could be any sport, right? At the
Yep.
university I'm at, it could be softball, it could be basketball, it could be track and field, volleyball, football. My case, right? You know, they kind of they're better than them, so they're identified as, oh, you're gonna get a scholarship, or you're gonna go to the league, and you're gonna. And there's this aspect of authenticity where they just want to be themselves. Like, what does it look like to be myself, but also get stuff done that I need to get done? Like, how can I be myself, still get work done, still understand that, yeah, football is important, but also not sacrifice who I am?
Right.
And so I think that's big. They need examples of that because, being in like, college level, it's just a lot of people aren't who they say they are. And I'm not here to make it a, bash fest, but just honestly, you see people like that's not who you are, and those players can see right through it. So I'll say authenticity. I think honesty. I think they crave honesty. I was at a university where one of our head coaches, he had opportunity of a lifetime, took a job at a school that I don't blame him. It was a great university. A lot of our players would have went there and played there. And when there was a departure, it hurt them was it wasn't honest. Like they said straight up, if he would have been like, "Hey, look, y'all get it, man. Like, you have success, these things happen in life. This is an opportunity I can't pass." Like, they would have understood. I think there's a lot of aspect of honesty. We say we want to build young men or young adults and all this stuff, but we want to keep them away from honesty. Like, the real world's honest. Like
Yeah,
maybe a little too honest,
for
but
sure.
that, and I think just um like support in what they want to do. They're looking for support, right? Like,
Yeah.
we already have a schedule of what they're gonna do. Like if you come to us and you're on scholarship, you got to do it. Like, it's
Yeah.
just that's just how it works. I tell the guys, like, man, I want to kind of have some autonomy or whatever. I'm like, I get that, but you also are on scholarship. Like, this football part is part
Right.
of it.
Yeah.
But there's a support where they're just like, man, like, can y'all, like, I'm here so much doing this stuff, which is fine. They love doing it, they understand it, but can they have support in their lives for like what they're doing or academics? You'd be shocked. Like,
Yeah.
I was in a text message just at the beginning of the week, like, to the guys who had tests or quizzes, like, hey, man, hey, go do your thing, man. Let me know what you're gonna do. And this one kid, he like legit one of our quietest players, who's pretty critical of everything. But he's awesome. Me and him had a great relationship, but he's critical of everything. Sends me a message like, man, coach, I went in there, man. I thought I was gonna get like an 88. I got a 92. I'm
Nice.
excited for the next test. So we have this text thread about his test, and just the support outside of football,
Yeah.
because you hear it. There's a lot of verbiage in college football sports, like, hey, it's more than the athlete. Well, they want to see that. They want to see. I guess the last one would be accountability. They want to see the accountability in lives of others, especially adults, because they're looking to us as leaders, right? And so if the accountability I hold for you as a 17-year-old or 24-year-old is higher than I hold for myself, just kind of a tough deal. So I think that's what they're looking for.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing that they need too is guidance. You got to guide them. Like,
Yeah.
it's a lot of stuff they don't know. Like, all my guys, no matter what university I'm at, they're all like, hey, I'm going to the league. And it's like, I'm not going to crush them. I'm not going to say, hey, the statistics are this. But you got to guide them in a way like, hey, the way I guide them is like, now, even if you make it, you can't play football for the rest of your life. So what are we going to do to prepare these skills afterwards? So that's kind of how.
Yeah. And if you are fortunate enough to get those few years, have a plan to, there's a lot of opportunities that you can parlay that experience into. So
To your point there, I was talking to one of my former players yesterday, 2 days ago, this weekend, and he was saying like he had a chance to play in the USFL, and he was like, man, coach, like, I told him, I said, that's a great opportunity because he wants to work in sports. I said, all the teams will be in Birmingham, they'll all be in the same area. And he was like, if I get a chance, I just want to meet people and network. I said, that's perfect. Like, he understands he's not gonna, he understands he's at the USFL, it's not the NFL. He's a long snapper, which is an interesting position.
niche, yeah.
So, yeah, it's a niche position, and people kind of stick. With specialists, people get really superstitious.
Right.
So he's like, look, if I get in the door, I'm gonna meet with everybody I can meet with, because he understands that you got head coaches like a Jeff Fisher or Kevin Sumlin or Larry Fedora or Mike Riley, and there's other coaches too. I can't name all 8 of them, but they have experience and they know people. And he's just like, and then every team probably has a GM and every team has the ops person. And so he's like, yeah, if I get in there, coach, I said, that's the way to do it. Everybody's going to be in the same city. You got 8 teams in the same city, they're going to see you everywhere, so yeah.
Good way to connect for sure. You talked about, Coach Herman and kind of as you found resources, are there some other people, that you look towards as mentors, whether they're authors, relationships, or people that you like to, continually learn from and share some of their things with your student athletes?
Yeah. So I would say, people in my specific field, I think Clemson does the best job at player development. They do an incredible job.
For sure.
And I think I want to say his name, Jeff Davis. He would be like the first person to ever do player. But it wasn't called that back when he did it. But
Yeah.
now, don't know him personally, but I know people that know him, and I know his staff, and they've been great. There's other people, like, we created a Zoom where we kind of all bounce off ideas off each other, so that's been fun.
Cool.
As far as authors, James Clear, Atomic Habits, has been really, really good talking to student athletes about creating habits. Like, hey, if you want to, well, coach, I want to become great at watching film. Okay, sweet. Watch film for 10 minutes. Tell me what you get out of it for 10 minutes, and do that for a week. And as time, they say, well, I can't sit there for 2 hours like so-and-so. Okay, sweet. Just become a film watcher. Just watch what you can watch. If it's one segment of practice, okay, then you watch 2 segments of practice the next day. Then, whatever it may be. So I talked to them about that. That one really helped me big time.
Sure.
Speakers, TED Talks, different things like that, because it's just really, Carey Nieuwhof is a good leader. Craig Rochelle, I listen to his leadership podcast. So just different things like that. Trying to find stuff. I find stuff off Shark Tank. So I just, just listen to that, and then like interviews, right? So you'll listen to a Giannis I can't say it.
I couldn't either.
I should know Antetokounmpo. And like him talking about, he talked about pride, and then it was like a great interview where he talked about if he feels good about what he did, is pride. If he thinks about what he can do, it's something else. But he's all about the moment. Like that's huge for players, right? Because I'm like, hey, let's just be where we are. Let's be in the moment. Like this guy is I haven't watched the NBA in my entire life, but his finals performance might be the best ever. To come off an injury where people didn't think you were going to play,
Right.
to do what he did, it's just, I think it's the best, but I'm not going to get into it with Savant.
Right.
But you use stuff like that. So we'll use it and we'll show it to the team, or I'll bring people in, or I'll read an article, or just a lot of stuff. I think the big thing that they respect is just learner. If you show that you're a lifelong learner, and then they're like, oh, okay, like I don't know it all, and even get stuff from them. So those are like people I kind of lean on, just because I think it's just really, really what they do. There's a guy on LinkedIn who I do know, Darren Roberts, and he does like, it's not about sports. He does these posts every now and they're really, really cool. So like he
Cool.
had OBJ with Debo Samuel and talk like it's about sports, but it's not about sports. He looks at the other side of it, and so
Sure.
I'm able to share that with guys. So there's a lot of like opportunity and resources out there to just help them.
Sure. I think when you can connect through video,
Mhm.
kids always like it. And then I think, my recent experiences too, there's a lot of student athletes with this entrepreneurial mindset. And so when you can connect a business lesson to, on the field, off the field, and teach them something through that, those unique connections, man, can create some great learning environments for sure.
Absolutely.
Love how you utilize all those tools and resources. Um, Coaches that are listening, if you were to give them one, piece of advice to encourage them to do a little more off the field with their teams, maybe a coach isn't doing much of it. They haven't had the bandwidth. COVID maybe has limited their interactions with their teams and things like that, which I'm sure you guys have experienced too. What's a way a coach can get some things started off the field to start some player development?
Yeah, the two biggest things I tell people all the time is, what is most important. So if a coach, let's say if a coach is like, hey man, it's important for me to impact the community. Awesome. Get started there. Or if a coach says it's important for me for their character development or their career development or their personal wellness, whatever you're passionate about, start there because it's the easiest thing to do. And so, for me, it was personal wellness, right? Community impact and career development. Because I saw like, hey, we need to take care of these players. We need to take care of the community and we need to take care of futures. That to me was the easiest, and everybody does it their way. That's how I would start. And then the other thing I always tell coaches that say, well, I can't, I can't hire you, or I got to get stuff done. I understand. I was a high school coach for 6 years and you got to, football's football, right? It takes a lot of time. You're trying to get better. I think the other thing too is like, what do you want them to leave with? Whatever that is, put the effort in. Whatever when you look at that player, this player, let's say this player comes back in 5 years and says, this is what I got out of this program. You want it to be something that's not on the field, right? But then what is that? If it's leadership, if it's I learned how to build relationships, whatever it is, that's what I would say to coaches. Find out what you're passionate about, and then what do you want them to lead with?
Love it. Great advice. If you hopped into a time machine, took you back to see 16-year-old Ed,
Yeah.
You're a lifelong learner. I'm a big fan of that. I love it. Of the things you've accumulated and learned on your journey, what's one little thing you'd want to tell 16-year-old you?
Just work harder. Just stay focused. Like working hard. What I would have told a 16-year-old me is like when you see people work hard, or like even athletes, right? I think about athletics or even school. You see their finished product. I would have told a 16-year-old me take 10 minutes a day after practice. Take 10 minutes. At 10 minutes, just run 3 gassers. Or after school, take 10 minutes and read this assignment. Or take 10 minutes with your brothers and sisters. Like just spend time. Take 10 minutes talking to your parents. Take 10 minutes watching something, learning something new, just that you never learn. I think just that's what I would have told a young Ed, like, and not to be, and then the other thing too is like, not to be intimidated by it all. Don't be intimidated by that 6'6" offensive tackle over there. Don't be intimidated by this AP course or this, college credit, right? Because when I got in college, I was like, I could have done this in high school, like, don't be intimidated by a book that has 400 pages, or don't be intimidated by your sister or brother bringing up something that you have nothing, wanting you to go with them to something that so that would be the two things. Just like work hard, take time, and then don't be intimidated by and I wouldn't even want to call them challenges. Just don't be intimidated by something, whatever it is.
Thank you for tuning in and all the way to the end. Appreciate that. If something this episode caught your ear as useful or unique, I would love if you would share it, or, a thumbs up's always encouraging as well. If you want to come back and check out more videos, smash that subscribe button, ring that bell for notifications, and we'd love to have you back. Have a great day, and go elevate others.